Heidi-ho, boys and girls. You're watching Ride with GNR. On this episode, we are taking our motorcycle Connie over 7 Mile Bridge in the Florida Keys.
This has been a trip I've been looking forward to for over 20 years. Being located north of 7 Mile Bridge, Fiesta Key is the perfect place to unload a motorcycle and head towards Key West. Along the way down to Key West, we will show you a couple of other places that you might find of interest to camp out, where you can also snorkel to your heart's content in the clear blue water. It wasn't until the next day that we actually returned to Bahia Honda to snorkel, so we'll show you that on another video.
George and I not only like to travel, but we also enjoy history. A lot of times we'll look up historical facts of the places that we like to go to. Here's some of the fun facts that I found about the Florida Keys. The Florida Keys are made up of about 1,700 islands, and the Keys are exposed portions of an ancient coral reef. The Spanish later called these islands Keys, from the Spanish word quillos, meaning small islands. The Spanish came to these islands looking for gold, and they mapped the Keys to use the Florida Straits as a route for their ships journeying between Central America, the New World, and Spain. Unfortunately, many of their ships wrecked on the reef. George and I had come to Florida once before for our honeymoon, but this was our first time to travel to the Florida Keys. We weren't sure what to expect, but we were pretty surprised to see how much landmass there really was. We didn't think there would be so many restaurants and gas stations. We even thought about bringing gas cans just in case we ran out, but there was no need for that.
If you're looking for an economical place to stay in the Florida Keys, Bahia Honda Key is probably about as close as you're going to get at the state park. And it has some very shallow waters underneath the bridge for the little kiddies to play in. And if you think you want to stay at Bahia Honda State Park, then you better get your reservations about a year in advance. Shortly after rolling past Bahia Honda State Park, we rolled on to Little Torch Key, where we ate at Kiki's Sandbar and Grill, where the food was excellent, as well as the service and the view looking over the water.
George had always wanted to drive over 7 Mile Bridge in his white convertible Mustang. But since that Mustang is out of commission, I suggested, why don't we ride over it with Connie, our motorcycle. We bought Connie 1 month before we got married, so we affectionately termed her our love child. So it only made sense for us to bring her back to Florida, since we went to Florida for our honeymoon. So this was kind of like a second honeymoon, but we brought our love child along for the ride. It's true, if we had been in the convertible, it would have been a little bit more comfortable for my aching back and tailbone, but there's just something about being on the back of a bike that just makes you feel so much more free. You get to enjoy the ride a little bit better, I believe, because you can smell all the different smells in the air, and when you're someplace tropical, it's all this beautiful flowers that you can smell, or nice barbecue that somebody's frying up. Plus, you're not limited by the frame of a car, so you could turn your head in any direction and have an incredible view. Of course, George has to look straight ahead at the road, but, you know, I get to goof around a little bit more. Here you can see we were on US Highway 1. This highway was designated in 1926, running from Miami, Florida, north to Fort Kent, Maine. With the Overseas Highway completed in 1938, US Highway 1 was extended from Miami over the Overseas Highway to Key West shortly afterward, where it still ends today. 7 Mile Bridge was finished in 1982, and it's a bridge that connects Knights Key in the Middle Keys to Little Duck Key in the Lower Keys. But before that, there was a railroad bridge that was completed in 1912. Sadly, a massive hurricane wiped out that railroad bridge in 1935. But the residents of Florida didn't give up, because a roadway was placed over the surviving railroad bed, and the broken track became the guardrails on the new motorist bridges. Cool, I got it. Interesting. Elsie the Cowmobile. Oh, that's pretty. Beautiful. Ooh, toasty hot. Yeah. Is it hot, baby?
Oh, it's hot.
Yeah.
You're hot. Robin, how does your soap taste?
It's delicious. Thank you.
You gotta watch these guys like peddling soap on the street.
I thought it was fudge. I did think it was fudge. I mean, what person stands on a street corner with little strips of soap for you to pick up and sniff? Besides, we were in a town where everybody was drinking alcohol. What did he expect? First time I ever had my mouth washed out with soap.
One of the things that Robin and I did was go to the Shipwreck Museum, where we got to see artifacts, some of them that had been under the ocean floor since the 1600s, like this bar of silver, which we were able to pick up in its little cage. And then we climbed to the very top of the tower. Took us a little bit, and I think Robin was pretty worn out, but by golly, she did it.
And of course, no trip to Key West is complete without stopping by the southernmost point of the United States. Here you can see us driving by, and you'll be able to see the marker for it. People stand around and wait in line in the scorching heat and humidity for a long time to be able to get their picture taken with that. We figured, screw that, let's just drive by it. We were good with that.
One of the unique aspects of this southernmost point in the continental United States marker is the fact that you are only about 90 miles away from Cuba, which means you are closer to Cuba than you are from Miami Beach. Unfortunately, due to some circumstances, Robin and I did not make it to the Mel Fisher Museum of Maritime History and see all of the amazing shipwreck treasures. So that's a very good excuse for us to return to Key West.
Florida Keys offer the only living coral barrier reef in the United States. We had a lot of fun on this trip, but sadly, it was a pretty short trip. So we definitely plan on coming back and checking it out a second time.